Hello everyone. Hope everyone's doing well out there and taking care of yourselves. Today I wanted to talk about songs that are not released on a band's primary studio album and not featured on like an official live recording. What I'm talking about are B-sides, outtakes, rarities, tracks that for whatever reason are recorded and then shelved, and only are discovered by fans at later points, or released by the band themselves at later time in their career. Sometimes they're released as B-sides, which would be a song that was an accompaniment to a single that was released. This was far more common back in the 70s and 80s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, when a band would select a single to release, have it maybe on a 45 record or a smaller cassette tape, and as an additional little bonus, they would include a song that was not on the album that the single was coming from. This whole practice of B-sides, recording B-sides, rarities, it seemed like it was more common in the 60s, 70s, maybe the 80s as well. And the reasons for that could be varied. I always thought that back in the 70s in particular, when the format of recorded music was primarily records or 8-track cassette tapes or standard cassette tapes, you had much more limited time available to include music because these were shorter formats. Of course, the CD, with the invention of the CD in the 80s, bands could record many more songs and release many more songs as part of a studio release. But perhaps back then, when records and tapes were the only way that bands were releasing this music, you would record more songs and then have to do a lot of strategic editing to know what would ultimately be included on the official release. What didn't get used was shelved for later times. So I've always found these kinds of songs to be, real jewels, or like gold nuggets, if you will, in a band's discography. Some of them are exceptionally good, and you're wondering, like, how in the world did they not include this on the primary studio release at the time? I've always found it exciting to explore B-sides in bands I like that have long, robust discography. So I wanted to spend some time today just talking about some of my favorites, and maybe hear from you in the comments about what some of your favorite B-sides are from some of the bands you like. I would start with an artist who unfortunately passed away in 2017 and is no longer with us, but in addition to his extensive discography, he released a lot of rarities and outtakes. Or I should say, he didn't release them at the time of his primary studio albums, but they found their way onto other compilations and other releases at later dates. I'm talking about Tom Petty, and this collection is the album An American Treasure that came out in September 2018, about a year after his death. This has some exceptional outtakes and B-sides and rarities on it. Keep a Little Soul from the Long After Dark sessions was a great track, as well as Keeping Me Alive, which was also from the Long After Dark session. That was the studio album from 1982. Keeping Me Alive in particular, I've always been baffled as to why that was not on the main studio album. Such a great song, such fascinating arrangements in that song, and a very melodic, catchy chorus. Tom Petty has other releases that contain a lot of his rare songs on them too. From 2015, there's the album Nobody's Children. I would recommend the song Home, as well as the song Travelin' from those. Actually, I think Home was a rare album track from his 2006 Highway Companion album. But both of those, Travelin' and Home, are really good songs that I'd highly recommend if you're a Tom Petty fan seeking out and listening to. And most everything I mentioned here today can be found on YouTube if you don't want to purchase the releases that they're found on. Another band I wanted to mention is Soundgarden. Soundgarden, of course, another group with a singer that has left us way too soon, the late great Chris Cornell. Soundgarden had a lot of rare tracks throughout their career, and this particular release consolidates a lot of them. This is the Echo of Miles album from, I believe, 2014. There are some great tracks here that are definitely worth seeking out. Fresh Deadly Roses from the Louder Love sessions in 1989. Blind Dogs was a great heavy dirge of a song that was recorded around 1994, 1995, found its way on the Basketball Diaries movie soundtrack. Birth Ritual has always been a favorite Soundgarden song of mine, recorded in 1992. I think it appeared on the Singles album, soundtrack album. Storm, one of the last tracks that I am aware of that they recorded before Chris Cornell's passing. A great moody, trippy kind of guitar in that, and a very heavy song called Christie from the 1996 Down on the Upside album sessions. Some great material on here. Echo of Miles, Soundgarden. Another group wanted to mention, a favorite band of mine, Deep Purple. They've had a lot of B-sides and rarities in their discography. If you wanted to seek some of them out, I highly recommend you do so. From their Fireball album, if you get the 25th anniversary version of it, there's some unreleased tracks on here. I'm Alone, Slow Train, and Freedom, all fantastic. Freedom is a more developed song, and I really think it should have been included on the original Fireball album. But I like all three of those songs, and all three of them would have been fantastic additions to the official studio album release. Also, speaking of Deep Purple, one of the great Deep Purple songs of all time, really, from the Machine Head album sessions in 1972, I believe, is a track called When a Blind Man Cries. Great guitar playing, very emotive guitar playing by Ritchie Blackmore, and singing by Ian Gillan. Highly recommend that as well. Another favorite band of mine who has a lot of B-sides and rarities, Iron Maiden. This compilation, Best of the B-sides, of course you gotta love that cover, is a 2 CD set that consolidates most of those rarities from about 1980 through 1995. Okay, so like the first 15 years of their official career is where you would have found all of these rarities and B-sides popping up at. Some great tracks on here, great covers of different songs. Kill Me Ce Soir was a track by Golden Earring originally. Iron Maiden does a great version of it. Space Station No. 5, an old Montrose song. I Can't See My Feelings, a song by the Welsh hard rock band Budgie. A couple of original songs on here that did not find their way on the 1995 studio album The X Factor, called Judgment Day and Justice of the Peace, with Blaze Bayley as the lead singer. Doctor Doctor, the old UFO song that was a hit, they do a version of that that's on here. And yeah, just a lot of great songs. This is a fantastic release. Let's see, some others. Well, Blue Oyster Cult, also a band with a pretty extensive discography, that have little golden gems sprinkled throughout their catalog. If you seek out a remastered or expanded release of their 1977 album Spectres, you'll find a couple of good rarities included on there. Night Flyer, which I really like a lot, has almost like this James Bond surf guitar part to it in places. And another great rarity from those same sessions, I believe, was a song called Dial M for Murder. Also a great B-side from Blue Oyster Cult, the original Fire of Unknown Origin track, which was recorded during the Agents of Fortune sessions. It's a much more mellow, moody, and acoustic version of the song, which I really like. I'm sure this band has many more B-sides and rarities in their catalog. I'm just going to cite one today, and the band is Black Sabbath, from the Born Again album sessions in 1983. Now, Born Again was when Ian Gillan was the singer for Black Sabbath. He was only their singer for this one album. Of course, he became more popular through his days in Deep Purple, but he did join Sabbath for this one release, which is a very raw, heavy, sonically raw, unpolished album, but it's got a strange appeal to it for me. And if you get the expanded version like this, on the second disc, there's a song called Fallen, The Fallen, that's not on the regular release, that is really good to listen to. Mention Alice in Chains. This is disc 2 of the 1999 Music Bank box set release. There are hidden gems sprinkled on the box set, and disc 2 has two of my favorites, Lion Season and Fear the Voices. These are songs that were recorded during the Dirt album sessions. Lion Season is a very aggressive, heavy song. Fear the Voices is a good rocker, maybe a little bit more funky in places, which is interesting to listen to. I really like both those songs a lot. We could go on and on about this for a long time, and I'm going to leave it there for today, but I would be curious to hear in the comments from you guys what might be some of your favorite B-sides or non-album tracks by bands you like. You know, I've just recently, you can always discover these songs in a band's or artist's catalog, and I just recently have discovered another one by a band I don't even really like that much, which is Jethro Tull's Silver River Turning, from their Nightcap release, which was a consolidation of B-sides and rarities from the mid-90s sometime. Silver River Turning, great song. Great guitar playing and just a good mood and sentiment in the song. There's an example of finding a little nugget of gold in a band's discography that you're not a big fan of, but who knows, maybe I'll explore more now. Anyway, share with me some of the ones you like, some of your recommendations, and hopefully you'll be encouraged to really use this as a grounds to dive deeper into a band's or artist's catalog and really find those hidden gems that are out there. Have a good day. Take care. We'll see you again soon.